Every billionaire has the same origin story. They will tell you about the grind, the sleepless nights,
Just work like hell.
the moment everyone doubted them. What they will not tell you is the cost. Alex Hormozi built a $200 million empire.
Alex Hormozi.
Alex Hormozi.
But more than that, he built a philosophy. Work harder, sacrifice more, become obsessed.
When no one's watching, I work harder than when they're watching.
In December 2023, Alex Hormozi broke the internet with a single post. No weddings, no baby showers, no Thanksgiving, no friends' birthdays, no family reunions, no fantasy football, no clubbing, no vacations for 10 years. Half the internet called him a genius, the blueprint for success. The other half called him something else entirely. One entrepreneur, Amanda Getz, called it extreme and unhealthy. Justin Welsh argued you can build success without abandoning every relationship in your life. One commenter wrote, "Tell me you're not a parent without telling me you are not a parent." Alex did not argue. He simply responded with measured grace. "You are right. People who have different destinations follow different paths. I am happy for you and your family you found one you love. Congrats on the amazing success. Keep on." So, which is it? Is obsession the price of greatness? Or is it just the lie we tell ourselves to justify what we have lost along the way? Think of it like a scale. On one side, money, empire, legacy. On the other side, weddings, birthdays, holidays, his father's approval. For 10 years, Alex kept adding weight to one side. The question isn't whether the scale tipped, it's what happens to the person holding it. To understand that, we need to go back, not to the gym he built, not to the empire he created, but to a 23-year-old standing on his balcony wondering if any of this was worth living for.
I was looking out from the condo that I had been able to buy with this job that I had, and I was like, is this it?
And even further back than that, to a man who fled a revolution with nothing but $1,000 and a dream. In 1979, a young man fled Iran during the revolution with $1,000 in his pocket and a dream of becoming a doctor in America. Alex Hormozi's father arrived in the United States during one of the most turbulent periods in Iranian history. He had given up everything: his home, his family, his entire world, all for the promise of a better life. He failed medical school twice. The first time, he did not speak the language. The second time, he learned organic chemistry in a foreign alphabet. The dream that carried him across an ocean crumbled in his hands. So he pivoted. He worked as a technician for 2 years, earning barely above minimum wage. His degree meant nothing here. He scraped by. He survived. And when his son Alex was born, he made him a silent promise. "You will do better than me. You will succeed where I failed. You will make all of this sacrifice mean something." That very promise became a prescription. The message burned into young Alex.
You know, I had a Middle Eastern father. He was like, I got out of Iran because of school, and so do well in school, and you too will succeed.
There was no option. There was no alternative path. Education and achievement were the only acceptable roads forward. And Alex followed the prescription perfectly.
I worked hard at school, mostly because I just didn't want my dad to be upset with me.
At Gilman School in Maryland, he was a quiet kid, a lone wolf by his own description, a little bit of an angrier guy than most of his peers. He stayed active in sports, tennis, soccer, but he kept to himself. Then came Vanderbilt. He graduated magna cum laude in just 3 years with a degree in human and organizational development. He became president of Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity, vice president of Vanderbilt powerlifting. The quiet kid had become a leader. The path was clear. The destination was not. At 23, Alex landed what most people would call a dream job. Management consulting for the US military. Top secret security clearance. $60,000 a year. Prestige work that sounded, in his own words, much cooler than it really was. He had followed his father's prescription to the letter. Degree from a top university, impressive job, nice apartment with a balcony overlooking the city. But one evening, he stood on that very balcony and asked himself a question that would change his entire life trajectory. Is this it?
Did all the things that I thought he would want me to. Got a job at a government contracting consulting firm. And I was very, very sad at that point in my life. And so it was very much like, I always hoped I wouldn't wake up the next day.
You see, Alex had followed the prescription perfectly. He got the degree, he got the job, he got the apartment with the view, and he felt nothing. For 6 months, he wrestled with this feeling. The life his father had sacrificed everything for felt like a prison. The success everyone else envied felt hollow. The path he was supposed to follow led somewhere he did not want to go. The formula his father had given him had produced the wrong answer, or maybe just someone else's answer. So, Alex made a decision. He was going to move to California and open a gym. But first, he needed to tell his father. He drove halfway across the country. The physical distance was deliberate.
Very transparently, like my dad had enough influence over me at the time that I literally had to physically separate myself in order to not be convinced, because I knew that if I had not done that, he would have convinced me.
Somewhere on that highway, he picked up the phone. Dad, I'm moving to California to open a gym.
I remember when I called my dad, and I didn't tell him that I was gone yet. I said, hey, I want to go pursue this fitness thing. He said, cool, come over for lunch. We'll talk about it. And I was like, I'm already gone. And then obviously his tone changed a lot. And our relationship struggled for, years after that.
His father lost it. The man who had fled a revolution so his son could have opportunities. The man who had failed medical school twice but kept going. The man who had worked minimum wage so his son would never have to. That man could not understand why his son would throw away a prestigious career to open a gym. They barely spoke afterward. Alex would later say,
That was kind of the internal dialogue, was I have to die to my father in order to live for me.
that phone call was the first weight Alex added to the scale. His father's approval. Gone. And it would not be the last thing he sacrificed. Because the gym floor he was about to sleep on for 9 months, that was just the beginning of a decade-long experiment in how much one person can give up and still call it winning. United Fitness, Huntington Beach, California, 2013. Alex arrived with $5,000, 1 month of runway, no connections, no backup plan. For 9 months, he slept on the floor underneath a warehouse.
And so I moved out of the place that I was at, which was just a spare bedroom. And I slept at the gym.
Not in a sleeping bag on a gym mat like the stories might have you believe, underneath a warehouse.
But like when I was alone in a city I didn't know, in a dark warehouse that was underneath of a parking garage, and people would drive over the metal cracks in the concrete on the ceiling 6-7 times a night, and he was like, doosh, doosh, and it was like this gunshot. Like, it wasn't fun.
He showered at the local YMCA. He ate canned tuna and protein bars. He worked from 4 in the morning until 9 at night, 7 days a week.
The Rocky cutscene lasts 30 seconds in the movie and lasts 5 years in your life.
Here's the thing about grinding in the dark. Nobody sees it, nobody celebrates it. You're just a guy on a cold floor, wondering if you made the biggest mistake of your life. Most people would call this rock bottom. Alex called it training. By 2016, he had expanded to 6 locations, $600,000 in annual revenue at his largest gym. The kid who had slept under a warehouse had built something real. But winning was not enough. The obsession was just getting started. Alex developed a philosophy. He called it the 10-year sacrifice. The idea was simple. Give up everything for a decade, and the rest of your life becomes whatever you want it to be. No meaningless purchases, no clubbing, no fantasy football, just work. He structured his life with precision. With Layla, the woman who would later become his wife, he created a joint calendar. 70% for work, 30% for their relationship, 0% for everything else. When he posted about this philosophy years later, the backlash was immediate. Amanda Getz called it extreme and unhealthy. Critics called it toxic behavior. Some commented that this is why unions are necessary. He simply said, "You are right. People who have different destinations follow different paths." The question was left lingering in everybody's mind. Is this wisdom or rationalization? But before the philosophy could prove itself, everything fell apart. 90 days. That is how long it took for Alex's world to collapse. His mother was hospitalized. He got into a head-on collision when a drunk driver crossed into his lane. He walked away from a crushed car. Then the real blow landed. A business partner he trusted, someone who had previously been indicted for fraud, emptied their shared bank account. Everything Alex had personally guaranteed, every lease he had signed, gone.
And then it kind of rapidly spiraled down from there. And then he accused me of stealing. So then he took all the money out of the account. And when he didn't want to look at the financials, that's when I knew that that was just a line. That was just like a strategy. And so I basically lost everything.
On Christmas Eve, his payment processor called. They were freezing his funds indefinitely. He begged them to release the money. They hung up.
And so I called Christmas Eve and I said, I'm not getting off the phone until you send me my money. And turns out they can keep your money. And I had no leverage. And they said, you will get off the phone.
His bank account showed $1,036. He even screenshotted it. He owed his salesman $22,000 in commissions he couldn't pay. He sat in a movie theater with Layla's family that Christmas, rolling with stress, pretending everything was fine. 4 years of sleeping on floors and eating canned tuna and missing every wedding and birthday. All of it was erased in 3 months. The obsession had not protected him, it had just made the fall harder. Now before we get to how he rebuilt his empire, and trust me, we're getting there, we need to rewind a little. Because before everything collapsed, Alex met someone who would change the trajectory of his entire life. Layla was his 60th Bumble date. Alex had approached romance the same way he approached business. Volume, data, efficiency. She had her own story. Iranian American, parents divorced, mother spiraled into addiction. Layla spiraled with her. 6 arrests in 18 months, all alcohol related. Her father finally intervened with words that cut through everything.
And he said, I'm not going to try and control you. I'm not going to try and threaten you. I'm not going to try and do anything. I just wanted to let you know that I am worried if you continue to do this, that you're going to kill yourself. It was the moment that I was like, I can't do this anymore.
She lost 85 pounds in 18 months, became the top-selling personal trainer in her region, rebuilt herself through the same obsessive discipline Alex worshipped. Their first date was at a frozen yogurt shop. Alex noticed she had a tattoo. He hated tattoos.
So what some people don't know is I have an entire back piece, and I was wearing a tank top dress, and he saw I have angel wings on my back, and he saw them, and I guess like he really doesn't like tattoos.
But then they started talking business. 4.5 hours later, neither of them wanted to leave.
She was an Iranian girl, and was into fitness. And when I met her on our first date, she really wanted to talk about business the whole time. And I'm like, well, this is great. I don't have to like pretend to like what you like. So this is so much more efficient for me.
Within 2 weeks, she quit her job to work for him. 9 months later, when everything collapsed and Alex stared at that bank account showing $1,000, he looked at Layla and said,
Hey, this could go horribly wrong. And I wouldn't stay with me if I were you. I am a sinking ship right now. And so in that moment, she grabbed my chin and she was like, I would sleep with you under a bridge if it came to that.
They got married on May 17th, 2017. Alex had drafted a prenup. On the way to the notary to sign it, he turned the car around.
And I said, will you sign a prenup? And she was like, sure. Like, I don't care. And so we were on the way to the courthouse to get it notarized or whatever. And in a dramatic flair, I tore it and threw it out the window. Because it was so not a thing. She was like, I don't want your, like, it's fine. And I believed her, and like, we've built everything together. So
the message was clear. This was a partnership built on something much deeper than contracts. And here's the counter-narrative nobody really talks about. Obsession did not save Alex. Partnership did. From the ashes, Alex and Layla built Gym Launch. The company helped gym owners replicate the same systems Alex had used to scale his own locations. Within the first year, they generated $70 million in profit. By 2021, they had worked with over 4,000 gyms across 22 countries. The philosophy of obsession had proven itself. The system worked. For Alex. But here's what nobody talks about. Success stories always have footnotes. On the Better Business Bureau, gym owners left scathing reviews. One called it an absolute scam, claiming they paid thousands to watch recycled videos with minimal support. Others reported that they had spent heavily on advertising, which the program encouraged, only to see their businesses struggle. Glassdoor reviews from former employees described MLM-like sales tactics and a culture of sell, sell, sell. Multiple threads described the program as overhyped and underdelivered. 2 gyms reportedly shut down after using the program. The Better Business Bureau gave Gym Launch 3.6 out of 5 stars. Some customers built empires, others lost everything. The accusation was always the same. Alex was selling the dream of obsession without acknowledging survivorship bias. Think of it like this. If obsession works for Alex, does that mean it works for all? Or did he just survive what kills most people? That's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to answer. In 2021, Alex and Layla sold 66% of Gym Launch to American Pacific Group for $46 million. They took the money and built Acquisition.com, a holding company that now generates over $250 million annually across its portfolio. Alex became a content machine. Over 40 months, he produced 35,000 pieces of content. Videos, podcasts, books, tweets, every platform, every format. Relentless output. In August 2025, he launched his third book, $100 Million Money Models. Within 24 hours, it sold 2.9 million copies. Guinness certified it as the fastest selling non-fiction book in history. His philosophy crystallized into a single line: cynics get to be right, optimists get to be rich. The critics responded, easy to say when you are the one who survived. After Gym Launch hit 17 million in profit, something unexpected happened. Alex's father called, the man who had not supported his son's decision to open a gym.
For a 5-year period after I quit my job, my dad did not support. He didn't support me quitting my job.
Why not?
Because he's like, what are you, a gym owner? Right? Gym owner doesn't sell well in cocktail parties. Right? He's figuring himself out.
The man who had barely spoken to him for years. And he apologized.
It wasn't until I think we did like 17 million in EBITDA, like profit take home. My dad called me and he's like, are you sitting down? And I remember like at this point, like we were like not talking too much. You know what I mean? Maybe every few months it'd be like a 5-minute phone call. And so I was like, sure, yeah, I got time, what's up? And he's like, you're gonna wanna hear this. And I was like, okay, what? And he's like, I'm sorry. And it was the first time he'd ever apologized to me in my life.
Alex initially refused the apology. He later explained the person who needed that apology no longer existed.
What's interesting to me though is that it didn't feel like anything. I didn't care.
Why not?
Because I had stopped caring about what he thought about me a long time ago.
For Alex, it didn't mean anything anymore. The apology came after $70 million, not before. The father who couldn't support a dream suddenly found the words once that dream made his son rich. But eventually, they reconciled. Alex wrote publicly about his father. Everything I have is because of my father. If he had not come to the US with $1,000 to start a life, I would not be here where I am today. In that way, I owe him everything. But then he added a caveat. Owing everything and doing everything as a result of that debt are different things. He concluded with this: intelligence is separating an idea from a person, being able to love one and hate the other. The decade of obsession had earned him his father's approval. But the question remains, did it require the decade or just the success? There are things Alex does not talk about often. He and Layla have no children, by choice, publicly stated. The obsession leaves no room for that kind of responsibility. His mother remains mostly absent from his public story. He has said only this:
It was just me and my dad for the most part growing up. I didn't see my mother very much. And so that's probably why I don't mention her as much.
He has never elaborated. That weight remains unspoken. 10 years of missed weddings, 10 years of birthday parties that happened without him, 10 years of friendships that faded because he was never available. The Glassdoor reviews that say layoffs for Culture Fit are frequent, arbitrary, and unexpected. The gym owners who followed his system and lost everything. The customers who call his program a scam. What does obsession cost the people around you? Here is what we can tell you for certain. Alex Hormozi gave up 10 years of normal life and built a $200 million empire. He has a wife who would sleep with him under a bridge. He got the apology his father never gave anyone else. He holds a Guinness World Record. He has 9 million followers hanging on his every word. But what we can't tell you is whether it was worth it. When asked about his philosophy that suffering is optional, psychologists have pushed back. They call it the dangerous stigmatization of legitimate mental health struggles. They call it backward and regressive thinking. Alex has never claimed his philosophy is right for everyone. His honest answer has always been this: he does not know if it is the correct path. He only knows it worked for him. Alex Hormozi is not selling a formula. He is selling a question. How much are you willing to give up? His answer was everything. 10 years, his father's approval, normal friendships, the version of himself who wanted balance. He got what he wanted: an empire, a legacy, a philosophy that millions of people try to follow. But here is the thing about obsession. It does not tell you what you will become. It only tells you what you will sacrifice. The people who follow Alex Hormozi are not buying his system. They are buying his certainty. The belief that if they just work hard enough, sacrifice enough, become obsessed enough, they will end up where he is. Some of them will. Most of them will not. And that is not a flaw in his philosophy. That is the whole point. He never promised everyone would make it. He just promised that the ones who did not make it did not want it badly enough. Whether that is wisdom or cruelty depends entirely on which side of the empire you are standing on.